I really wasn't looking forward to doing this episode.
Why is that?
Addiction makes me uncomfortable, man. I can't even kid you. It makes me super uncomfortable. It's like the boogeyman that's always chasing me, man. You know, because I can have an addictive personality. Right? Like I can be a glutton for shit. Like, yo, that food tastes good. All right, I'm gonna taste it first. Then I'm gonna go all in, right? And for me, I thought for sure I had some addiction problems, man. Especially when I was drinking heavily.
Yeah.
And after doing research for this topic, and I think we're gonna get into it today, it was like I realized that it wasn't really an addiction. I was running from pains, bro. Hey, listen, welcome everybody. This is Paul. This is Brian. We are your hosts for the More Than Black or White Health Podcast. If this is the first time you're visiting us, thank you so much for giving us a go, clicking on that thumbnail and hearing what we have to say. If you're returning, bless up to you. Thank you for joining us, man. We're so happy that you're here. We're so happy you support us. We're loving the feedback and the energy, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram. We are a podcast that is set in intent to help you become an advocate for your own health and well-being. So whether it's you working with doctors, you working with whatever kind of health and wellness professional, the information that Brian and I provide to you here across multiple realms of health and well-being are to support you to find out your way to take care of your body, mind, and spirit. So without any further ado, you got to check in with my guy, B. B, how you doing, bruh?
Doing good. And, the kid had an ear infection today, so I feel a little bad. I brought him to the doctor, and he actually did really well in the doctor. He was happy. He got 2 stickers. He got like he comes out of there, and they're like, does he want a puppy sticker? I was like, you got anything a little more violent, like a shark or a dinosaur? And he lit up, man. He got 2 dinosaur stickers. I didn't get shit. I paid $90 for this copay, and I didn't get a damn sticker, but
brother,
apparently it's all about the kid and not about me.
That's bullshit. No, man, it's got to be about the parents too, man. Because you know what, man? I was just thinking when you said that. When I go to a doctor, they don't give me shit.
Yeah, I got a bill.
Yeah, that's it. That's all they give. They give me a bill, and then they give me a card for when I got to come back.
Yeah, give me a sticker, man.
Yeah, bro. I would love a sticker. I would love a sticker, a bracelet, like a pad, a piece of paper with the logo. I'm good with whatever, bro. I'm easy like Sunday morning, man. What's up, Lionel Richie?
But Paul, man, I'm excited about today's topic.
What we got today, bro?
Man, we're doing the series right on men's health. I think this is the 3rd or 4th one we're doing.
4th.
Yeah, exactly. You're with me. We kind of figured it out as we go along. Nothing's organized here. We just off the top of the dome. But the truth of addiction, man. This is powerful. I enjoy this. Paul and we broke it up in 3 different segments. We're going to start talking about the first segment. We'll talk about is the addiction is a brain disease. It's not a moral failure. And I think that people, they shame a lot of people that have addictions, but they really can't help it to a certain extent. Yeah. So we want to kind of dive into that a little bit. Definitely talk about the opioid crisis. That's huge. There's a great documentary that Paul and I have seen, and we'll watch a couple of movies based off it. That's really mind-blowing. We want to share with you. And addiction, and the third part is the addiction often starts in adolescence. And that has a lot to do with the way the brain develops and why younger adolescents, they get addicted quicker than somebody with a brain that's already matured. So, well, I'm pumped about diving into this. I learned a lot about, we had a good idea, a good foundation about this, but you and me, we always do the research behind the scene before we do the podcast. A lot of cool stuff that I learned, a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah. Interesting is, I guess some of it was cool. Interesting is definitely a good descriptor of it. Yeah. It's like, I can't even kid you. Like, I really wasn't looking forward to doing this episode.
Why is that?
Addiction makes me uncomfortable, man. I can't even kid you. It makes me super uncomfortable. It's like the boogeyman that's always chasing me, man. you know, because like I can have an addictive personality, right? Like I can be a glutton for shit. Like, yo, that food tastes good. All right, I'm gonna taste it first. Then I'm gonna go all in, right? And you know, like for me, I thought for sure I had some addiction problems, man. Especially when I was drinking heavily.
Yeah.
And after doing research for this topic, and I think we're gonna get into it today, it was like I realized that it wasn't really an addiction. It was I was running from pains, bro. So like really going over this, it was bringing up some stuff for me, but I was happy to go over it, but I was just like, God damn, like this is a serious problem because I think people have this addiction, or they have addictions and they abuse substances without even failing to recognize what they're really doing to their body. They're chasing like that dragon, that high, but it may never come, man, and it could be a multiple things. So yeah, I'm amped to go into this, bro. I guess now I'm starting to get excited about going to this. Okay, fine. You converted me, Brian. Damn you. All right, fine.
You just talked yourself right into it, man.
I just did. Yeah, and I had that on record, man. So I get to go back and watch that again. How the hell I did that? That's gonna come in handy in other places.
That's good. You complete 180 on that. That's good. All right.
You were happy because you were like, I gotta put a 180 on this cat, bro.
Yeah.
And plus, man, you know, look at my hair, bro. I gotta cut my hair. God damn, I'm rocking a George Jefferson. You see it? For those that don't know what George Jefferson is, go look at it.
Yeah, fish don't fry in the kitchen.
Yeah. What's that?
Fish don't fry in the kitchen.
Yeah, bees don't burn on the grill. Took a whole lot of try. Okay, let me stop. I'll do the whole jingle, boy. Now we're up in the big leagues. All right, so listen. You know, that's one of my mechanisms. I crack jokes and I laugh when I'm uncomfortable. But listen, let's go in, goddammit.
All right, let's go. Hey, drop some stats for us. What do you got? What do you got for the first one?
Stats, right? Because you know, you know how we do, especially when we do the research. We gotta do the framework and set up. So here's some of the stats that I found when I was doing research. Men are twice as likely as women to misuse illicit drugs. This was in a study from the National Institute of Drug Abuse, less than 2 years ago. 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Another stat: over 60% of men report drinking alcohol regularly. Binge drinking is twice as common among men compared to women. Suicide risk, 4 times higher for men, and substance abuse is often a contributing factor, bro. Here's another one. 1 in 5 men are struggling with addiction. 1 in 5 men that struggle with addiction also battle undiagnosed mental health issues like depression, PTSD, and anxiety. But so, dude, and you and I, you know, we just talked about this, man. Like some of the things why Brian and I think is important. Well, I'm curious to you, like what the reasons you sense this is important to talk about now. Then I'll share for me, man. What comes to mind for you, bro?
Man, like, yeah, again, that's a loaded question, but like, I mean, I think men are just have more addiction issues because we're more impulsive as creatures. We talked about this in the last episode, right? Yeah. So like we don't think logically a lot in certain situations. We react emotionally, and we just do stupid things, and we just kind of like, and we don't want to talk about it, right? Mm. Men have this thing where we try to internalize everything, and by internalizing everything, it becomes very uncomfortable. So by using substances, it kind of eases the pain a little bit too.
Yeah, man.
So that was the last episode was really, really powerful. That, you know, it's all about understanding yourself, setting goals, putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, you know, joining groups, talk to people. You're not alone. You know, you should be the brave one to kind of start the fire. You got to be the spark. Yeah. And once you get a lot of sparks, you get a fire. So, you know, the more people you can get a hold of and get them out of their, you know, their comfort zone, you know, you're not only helping them, but that you're helping yourself.
True words, bro. So it's like, what I'm hearing is like, man, listen, this is key for helping self and others, man. And it's important because like, that isolation and separation and that stuff all plays a role. For me, I think it's important for us to talk about this because of, what we were talking about like earlier. I was thought for a second, I thought it was in the pregame, but it was actually in the podcast. Like I see substance abuse and addiction as running from the problem, man. And doing your best to find a way to address a problem that you have yet to know the answer to, or that you have yet to know if it's even your problem to solve, bro. So I think it's, as far as like what we're going to rock today, and we're going to get into it, but like substance, a lot of times what people fail to recognize, and actually sometimes they do. And I was listening to our boy, Andrew Humerman, and he actually had one of my old trainers on the show, Ryan Suave.
You tell me about that, yeah.
Bruh, it's a man, and Ryan, man, he was one of the best trainers I've had, man. Like he helped me go through some major transformation. But like he was talking about the addiction and like what's aligned to it, and like people's pain and like getting people used to feeling bad, man. So let's dive in, bro. Let's go in. So like one of the first things like you wanted to really dive into and talk about was that the addiction is not a disease.
Well, the addiction, it's a brain disease. It's not a moral failure, right?
Yeah.
It's a brain disease. Mm-hmm. And I think just knowing that alone, it takes a little of the shame away from you. It almost like, only thing I don't like about it, because you're finding out the information, but you got to empower yourself. So what I mean by that is, you need to do certain things. You need to start taking accountability, but no, it's very tough. And what I mean by that is like drugs, prescription drugs, substances, alcohol, gambling, or whatever it is. What it does on the brain level, on the anatomy level, is it hijacks your dopamine system, also your mesolimbic system, the brain's reward circuit. So normally when you do like average healthy things, eating clean, connecting with others, you're exercising, you release dopamine. It gives you these little shots of dopamine, which, rewards the reward system, right?
Yeah.
But now when you're taking drugs, that dopamine can be up to 10 times the normal dopamine you would get from something healthy. So after a while of doing all this stuff, the everyday activities, listen to good music, eating good food, exercising, you don't feel that pleasure anymore because you're just burning out the dopamine system, taking all these substances. And especially when you start coupling with opioids, which we'll get into in a little bit, but everyday life just gets dull. Right. And the substances that you take just lights up the brain tenfold over communicating with somebody else. I'd rather, drink a beer or take a prescription drug or an opioid, that just magnifies it 10x. So why not do that instead of, calling somebody up and having a meaningful conversation? That's the way the brain kind of looks at it.
Oh, shit. Okay. So I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correct, right? So basically what makes it this disease is like the brain brain naturally has the dopamine. What I'm hearing you say is that when someone takes the drugs, right, it's like a heightened sense of dopamine. So basically it's throwing the equilibrium of the brain off, and it resets like how the dopamine is, right? Like the levels of dopamine. Now, what I was also hearing you say is that over time, that higher level of dopamine basically like depletes the storage. So now it's like everything is dull. It's not like everything's not at that same heightened level that it was when you first got onto your drugs. Or it's not even just drugs, by the way. This is activities and a lot of other things that people can be addicted to.
Think of this as your setting point for your dopamine. Yeah. And you eat, you and I, we have a great conversation. It'll go up to about right here. Yeah. After the conversation, it drops a little bit back down to the set point. Then all of a sudden, we go out and we start taking Oxycontin and all these drugs and these opioids. It just cranks up the dopamine really high. Then now your level that you're normally at, it goes down a little bit more. So when you get off it, it brings it down. So even now when you start having these meaningful conversations, it doesn't go really where that current level is. That makes sense.
Yes, it does.
You're depleting it. So, and it's tough. Like going back to the whole brain disease, like our brains aren't really fully developed until we're like, 24, 25, 26.
Probably later, bro.
Yeah. that prefrontal cortex. They definitely, you know, and I would say even, I would say even later, because the more overweight you are, I mean, we have an epidemic of overweight, obese people that, I mean, I read something the other day, like 75% of Americans now are actually considered overweight. When you have an overweight issue, that actually shrinks the brain. So your brain's not fully developed. But just say, even if as a healthy person, you're one of 4 people, 25% of people that are actually healthy, your prefrontal cortex isn't developed until your mid to late 20s. So what does the prefrontal cortex do? It helps you with impulse control, it helps you with judgment, it helps you with reasoning, planning ahead, staying organized, emotional regulation, social behavior. That's a big issue, you know? So I mean, like, how many times, especially, like, I mean, I can definitely relate. And I think guys can relate more than women. We do stupid shit.
This is true.
We look back in our lives and I'm like, how the fuck am I still alive? You know, because we just don't. Yeah, we've done stupid things because you know, like I said before, we're very impulsive in nature as a man. Now you're coupling it out with a prefrontal cortex that isn't fully developed. Yeah, you know, it's a wonder. Well, like, you know, I'm like, I look around sometimes like, how the hell am I still alive? You know,
bruh. Man, speaking my language, bro. Yeah, I get that, brother. I get that completely. I feel the same way, man.
Yeah,
dude.
And you know, one more thing, like, while we're kind of on this topic, when you have chronic substance abuse, it weakens the connection between the prefrontal cortex and the reward system and the dopamine system, and that reduces even more self-control. So, like, there's been a lot of brain scans. The guy that we were kind of talking about last time with the
what was his name? Dang, I can't remember his name.
I forgot his name, but that guy was awesome. He's like the brain doctor, ADD doctor. But he shows that, like, you know, brain scans with a lot of substance abuse, there's gray matter in there that it shrinks in addictive people. So when you start having these addictions, that gray brain matter shrinks, and it especially shrinks in the decision-making regions, which is fascinating. So substance abuse, it automatically has a direct correlation with how you reason and making decisions.
That makes sense, though.
Sure, yeah.
Because from what I was hearing you say before, right, with like that imbalance of the dopamine, then like, so I get, like, the decision making process definitely would suffer, because it's not like they're consciously making the decision to say, okay, I don't need this right now. They're driven by that need for dopamine, so their decision strategies are out the freaking window.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to get that high. That's not proper decision making. That's like basically survival and addiction.
Yeah, and you really, and I believe that if you are aware of this, there's things you can do to change it. I can share a couple things that I've done some research on. I can share with you. But if you don't decide to change it and start empowering yourself and putting effort out there, it's almost like you're going to pretend you're like a carpenter and you're going to a job trying to build a house, and you don't have a hammer, you don't have your nails, you don't have a screwdriver, and now you're like, okay, well, what am I going to hammer with? Okay, I got a wrench. You know, like, you're using like half the tools in your toolbox. And I'm using the analogy where if you don't have all these hormones like dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, drive, motivation, reward system, and everything like that, how do you expect to get ahead? So you need to do certain things. You need to take a step back, first realize, hey, it's a brain issue. It's not, don't put shame on yourself, but there's things you can figure out, empower yourself.
Dude. Well,
yeah.
Like, so okay, taking what you just said, right, with it's like, take the shame out of it. I wanna make the pivot, and we can still come back to addiction as a brain disease, but I want to pivot on that addiction is not a moral failure, because one of the things that was coming up for me as you were talking about this, B, is, well, two things specifically. When you were talking about, like, men's impulses to, like, we just don't like a lot of times we don't think, especially in our younger years, we're more impulsive, man. We're like, okay, I'm just gonna freaking do that junk. That's that electric energy in men, right? Like, I'm gonna I'm going forward. I'm like, nothing's stopping me.
Yeah.
The thing what was calling to me is like there can be a lot of shame around the addiction piece, right?
Sure.
Whether it's shame internally or shame that's coming from others that love you or like your family, like, you know, whatever that is. But the other thing that the first thing that got me though was when you were talking about the decision making and the impulsiveness, and I was thinking about that stat about men are 4 times as likely to delete themselves, man, to take their lives. And a lot of times it's associated with some sort of addiction or substance abuse, because now that dopamine's so high that if you're saying like the dopamine reset is lower now, like I'm never gonna feel good, bro.
Yeah.
It's gonna be different. And this is and now even as I'm saying this, I'm understanding what Ryan and Andrew were talking about. Like Ryan was like, yo, the first thing I got to do is when I'm working with someone that's addicted to something is to help them feel bad. And I was like, what? But it makes sense because, I know for me, when I was binge drinking and stuff, it made sense for me to say, well, I don't want to feel bad. So I'm going to freaking go drink my face off and probably pick up some chick that can give me head. You know what I mean? Like, that's what my head was, bro. Like, yeah. See what I did there. But like, I can see why it's important for people to learn to feel bad. And I think that there could be that they could see this as a moral failure. Like, I can never get back to where I was, or like I'm like, this is who I am. But like, I think there's something very powerful here, because if that stigma can be lifted, then I think people have a better chance of addressing their addiction, bro.
Yeah, it's not as taboo as it used to be, especially with social media. You hear it all the time. People like, right. You know, then you watch, you know, famous people that we look up to, you know, they're drug overdosing, they're, you know, jumping off balconies because they're high on shit, or, you know, they're taking drugs and they're drowning in their bathtub. It's just like all this like crazy shit that's going on, but you're not alone. But people don't talk about it because it does have that negative stigma. It's almost like you feel embarrassed, you know, you don't want to bring it up. And like, and a lot of times you don't want to bring it up because you don't want to take accountability for yourself. Yeah. Because if I come to you, Paul, and be like, hey, you know, I'm addicted to shit. I don't know what's going on. What are you going to tell? Hey, you got to get help. Oh man, now I got to look at myself in the mirror. I gotta face my demons head on. Shit, man, I don't know if I'm ready for that. You know, so it's tough.
But bro, and so brother, see, DB, that's why for some reason, one of the main reasons I love you, dude. So this is the thing, though, right? Is that, and this is about the conversation about how we even address addiction, because even in that common reply to someone saying, "Hey, I'm addicted," most people's reply will be like, "Well, yo, you got to get off of it," rather than, "All right, cool. Well, what can I do to help you?"
Yeah.
What can I do to help you?
Yeah. Right? What do you need from me?
What? Yo, right, bro. Yeah. What do you need from me, man? I'm in. Where are we going? You want to stay with me? Like, bro, I've been there. I've been there with friends that have been addicted, man. That have been through stuff, man. It's like when they're like, "Yo, man, I think I got a drinking problem." All right, yo, bro, how can I support you, bro?
Yeah, I think the worst thing you can do in that situation is start telling them what they need to do.
That's what I'm talking, brother. Speak to me. Say it again for the people down in Texas.
Don't tell them what you need to do. But
my guy,
you know, because that's one of the reasons they're probably not coming to you in the first place.
Precisely.
Want to be told what to do. You know, it's easier to hide behind a bottle of beer or, you know, some drugs or whatever it is. You know, it's, I think the best thing you said, like you said before, like, hey, what can I do for you? How can I support you in this healing process? Yeah, you know, let them kind of make the decision. I got you, man. Pick you up tomorrow. Let's go. You know, we'll figure it out.
Hey, bro, and that's the thing. Most people are expecting you to be like, "You piece of shit. You're such an embarrassment to the family. I can't have you as a friend."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, bro? Like, that's even worse. Dude, it's not fun, man. Like, and I've you know, I've had, bro, you know, for confidentiality, I can't really say too much, but like, it's, dude, it's, and this is why when you put in like addiction is not a moral failure, I was so happy that you said that, because you know, I was thinking about this conversation that we're having right now, and I was also thinking about what we talked about in the last podcast, where it was like, okay, hey, when we talked about separation, isolation, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I may go use alcohol or weed or like gambling. Gambling's an addiction too. I may use all those things as a way to socialize, and then hey, guess what? I slip, I slide.
Yeah.
Like if I'm a person that doesn't really go out, I'm always to myself. Like this is my out. But the thing is that my out to connect with others could end up destroying me.
Yeah. And even healthy addictions are not good. You'll see like if you just say you're a full blown alcoholic, and I've seen this 100 times, you're a full blown alcoholic and be like, all right, I quit alcohol. I was like, yeah, it's great. And all of a sudden now you're working out 7 days a week, 2 days, doing 2 a days. That is not healthy.
Bro.
You still haven't got to the core issue of why you have an addictive personality. And all you're doing is you're just changing addictions.
That's it, bro.
I've seen people, and it is not healthy. It is not healthy. Then all of a sudden their body starts breaking down. They can't work out now 7 days a week. They can only work out 3. They need to find something else to do. They need to find another addiction to keep themselves busy, because again, you haven't addressed the core issue. Oh, maybe like, now I'll start, betting on the horse races. You lose all your money. Now you can't bet anymore. What's next? Oh, I'm going to go to whatever, women. I'm going to start going to porn or whatever it is. You're just moving around the addiction like, chess pieces on a board.
Yeah, what do they call that game? Where you have
three card Monty.
Yeah, like where is it? Where's the nuts?
Yeah, next one, yeah.
Bro, listen, brother. That's such a fresh point you make, brother, because I think people fail to recognize that part of an addictive personality.
Yeah.
Right? Like that part of you that needs and has to do something because you're covering something else.
Yeah.
And it can be very easy. It can be very easy to master the cover up. Very easy, because you're like, well, I don't do that anymore. Yeah. That's bad for my body. But you're sitting in the sauna for 7 hours, bro.
Yeah. And there's only one person you're not going to fool. And that's the person that you're
right.
The worst.
Bro, you can't
fool everyone else, but as long if you don't fool you can't lie to yourself.
You can't, brother. Now here's the thing that's very interesting, right? Because I think like a lot of, especially when it comes to looking in the mirror, man, like Michael Jackson and shit, it requires it requires looking back at the pain and at the perceived pain and the perceived wounds and the perceived roots. I'm saying perceived because a lot of it is a perception, right? Like someone said something to me, like, yo, I was a kid. Hey, man, I dropped my plate. My dad spanked me in the mouth. Damn. Now I have this thing, like I can't do anything wrong. I'm a people pleaser, right? I have so much pressure in my life. Like I can't do anything wrong. Like, oh man, I'm going to go get some Wendy's and I'm going to go get some Heinekens at the bar.
Or every time you hear a plate break on the floor, you're like,
yeah, exactly. Like, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. Yo, you know what's okay, I got to tell this quick story, right? So one of the things, and I could tell because it was me. So when I was in a training with Ryan, right, it was very intense, like gratitude training. And there was a part of it, like, we had to be back at a certain period of time, and we were all like connected. We had groups. So we were coming back from break and we had to rush. We had to rush, and we were coming behind. And we had this one person in our group that was like, she was older and like, needed help and stuff. And we were rushing in and she fell. And I ran up and I helped her get in the seat. And when the bell rang, I was still standing up. So I was like, now my trauma kicked in, right? Because like I never wanted to mess up, especially in front of people.
Mm.
And I'm like, and I blurted out something like, yo, I know I'm with her. And Ryan was like, I didn't even say anything to you. What's up with you, man? See, you get all defensive, man. You're a powerful leader, but where are you leading them? And I was like, I wanted to be like, F you, Ryan. I was like, you're right, man. Damn.
Yeah.
I say that because our trauma will have us react to things and have us take on things that a lot of times we may fail to realize that we took on. And I think you see what I'm saying? Well, you see what I'm saying, B? You know what I'm saying?
I got a lot of examples. Yeah, it's funny that you're saying that. Yeah.
Good. What you got? Give me one.
I remember growing up, and my mom used to do laundry, and she would get so pissed off if she went to go throw a load of laundry in, and I didn't just say I did a load of laundry before her, and it was still in the wash, and I didn't put it in the dryer, and then she would go in and try to put a load of laundry in the washer, and my clothes were still there, and I didn't put them in the dryer. She used to go crazy. She like flip her shit. And to this day, sometimes like I've gotten better, but if I'm doing a load of laundry and I go in there and Hyanni's got her stuff in there, it triggers me a little bit. But I catch myself and I kind of laugh at it now. But back in the day, I used to get pissed, and I'm like, why am I getting pissed about this? But you just pick up little things that your parents used to get mad at you about. Then when you see it later on in life, it's these little tendencies. I got so many little quirks that I probably haven't dealt with yet, but it's just funny.
Welcome to the club, B. That's why we here, baby. That's why we here, man. Now listen, B. The reason why I bring this up is because, especially as we're talking about substance abuse and addiction, a lot of this can begin in adolescence, bro.
Mm.
A lot of it begins in adolescence, and what the thing is interesting is that it's either like in the elementary or adolescent space where some of these traumas or some of these perceived situations come up. And that's when a lot of the addiction can begin, because kids can start drinking at that age. Like, listen, man, my son's 14. I'm sure there's kids in his class that had a couple Heinekens. I don't know why I keep picking on Heineken. Had a couple Peronis, had some weed, maybe even had mushrooms. I don't know. Like around my age, they were like when I was that age, cats had done it. But the thing that's dangerous right now is there's a different type of addiction in that age range, bro. And that's the opioid addiction, man. It's actually not even it's more than addiction. It's a freaking crisis right now, bro.
It's wild, man.
It's crazy. And it's happening a lot in adolescents. So I know this is one of the things you wanted to talk about. Like, let's chop it up about this, man, because you were sharing a very fascinating story about the designers of Oxycontin, not the designers, but the distributors, I guess I would say. Right.
Yeah, there's Matthew Broderick, I think, made a movie about it. I've yet to see that. It was like a Netflix movie, but I watched a documentary back in the day, and it was on the Sackler family. So in the late 90s, the Sackler family, I'm going to make this really short. They basically bought a Purdue Pharma, not like Purdue Chicken, but they bought like Purdue Pharma, and they aggressively marketed this painkiller Oxycontin, right? And the problem is when they were pushing this Oxycontin, they were falsely claiming that it had a low risk of addiction. And what the documentary reveals is they used misleading data and targeted doctors with these lavish high incentives to push this drug and to overprescribe people. The Sackler family knew people were going to get addicted. They knew what the outcome would be. They knew it would cause a lot of deaths, but they just did it because the markup on it was crazy. They made billions and billions of dollars. And as these doctors, they started making these lavish cuts off these incentives, off these over prescribing all these drugs. They were giving to anybody. You got a headache, Oxycontin. You got your knee itches, Oxycontin. You can't sleep at night, Oxycontin. And they were just pushing out because the incentives were so high, and it created a wave of dependency on the nation, and it just spiraled into like a national crisis. And then as people started dying and getting addictive, that's when our government kind of like stepped in and they realized that they were purposely pushing this drug just to make money. And what's crazy about it, like,
damn, bro,
I think they only paid like a $7 billion fee after everything. They kept billions and billions of dollars. And to this day, they still deny that they did anything wrong. So, and what's another thing that's crazy is they never served any jail time. They're never brought up on any charges. They never, got guilty on any charges. And it's overwhelmingly proven that they knew this would kill people. And to this day, over 500,000 people have died because of opioids. you know. And I was telling you a little story. Like I was actually thinking about starting my own pharmaceutical, not my farm, like a nutrition brand, like a nutrition line. And one of my lawyers, going back about 70 years ago, he sent me this letter that there was a guy that had a nutrition line, and I forgot what product got tainted in the manufacturing. But long story short, he had a clean record for like 7 or 8 years, and he had one bad batch. 15 people got sick. One person died. He went to jail. Total mistake. Totally obviously didn't want any of that to happen. These people literally killed hundreds of thousands of people that we know of. I guarantee it's up in the millions.
Bro, but I was about to say, bro, absolutely,
yeah.
bro.
Easily, I would say easily in the millions.
Yeah.
And went right after him and purposely killed people. Not one of them served a day in jail. It blows my mind. To me, it's like, and people are like, and they change the data around. They cherry pick the data. That's a problem. Like people are like, oh, show me the scientific proof of this. I don't need to show you scientific proof of something that's just fucking common sense.
Right.
You know? And it blows my mind because you can cherry pick certain data. And we're learning that now as a society after the whole COVID thing, that, you know, farmers coming out there and be like, oh, you knew of all this stuff. And be like, yeah, but this data said this data did. They cherry pick the things that they want, or they hire or they pay research companies to manipulate the data. So you can't trust it. You know, and a lot of people are, you know, there's so much stuff that's coming out, but you have to use common sense. You have to, you know, and as you like all the stuff that Paul and I have talked through, like probably 100 episodes that we do, you need to have a clear, open mind. You need to like listen to your soul and what makes kind of sense to you. Like, you know, I could point out somebody's bullshit fucking 100 miles away. Like, you're not gonna get anything by me. You know, people. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, you might be this, or you're paranoid. We don't have a government, we have a corporation. Our goal is to make money, that is it. And if you get in trouble, if you have enough money, you can get out of it. Rant done.
It's a wrap. I was thinking that was going to go for another couple minutes, man. That was good, though. That was good. You got more self-control now, bro. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. You know, dude, it's when you were sharing that story before, it made me angry.
Yeah.
Thinking that we're talking about the Sackler family, but there's other pharmaceutical companies that
100%.
Some diabolical stuff, right?
Dude, Pfizer has one of the largest lawsuits in the history of criminal lawsuits. Like, they literally pushed out drugs knowing that it's going to have negatively affect people. They skewed research. And what blows my mind is this is all public knowledge. People know this stuff, and they still decide to take their vaccine and be like, oh, it's safe. It's FDA approved. But like, what? What?
Right. That's why we did that episode on the FDA. People don't want to. People like go back and watch that piece.
I'm like, if you first of all, Pfizer's been around for 175 years, I think it is, and they've never cured any disease with any kind of drug, anything, you know. And it just blows my mind. It's just like, Paul, if I would lie to you when we're in our teens, and I would lie to you when we're in our 20s, and I would lie to you in your 30s, and I come in my 40s and I tell you something, would you believe me?
No. I'm like, you lying mother, man. Get your ass out of here, right?
You know, they blatantly lied throughout their whole lifespan as a company, and all of a sudden in 2020, oh, we have this this vaccine. Oh, okay, let's go take it. You know
what, bro? What?
What's wrong,
dude?
No, you know, like I know we have a lot of listeners that took it, and but like, yeah.
But hey, listen, I
tell you that.
And listen, Brian and I are entitled to have an opinion. This show is free of judgment, whether you got it or not. It's okay. Listen, if you did get it, we want you to make sure that you take care of yourself, because as you can hear in our conversation, we have a little bit of distrust towards the pharmaceutical industry, and it's not even just the pharmaceutical industry. There's a distrust. And Brian, if I'm wrong for speaking for you, let me know. But there's a distrust in their intention. What's that?
You know me well enough. Yeah.
So okay. So for Brian and I, we're like, listen, man, we don't trust their intention to truly cure anything. Okay. We fail to trust that shit. So I want to
put in the comments and help our algorithm out.
Yeah, please hook it up. Thank you for that. Good call, Brian. Good call. I want, you know, Brian, as you were saying, like something really, when you were going on the rant, something activated in me, that I realized one of the reasons why the opioid crisis was so massive, and it started in and it's really kicking off in adolescence. People are unable to process their pains, whether that's physical, emotional, spiritual. Because even I don't know all the situations with the OxyContin, but I remember and the movie's called Painkiller on Netflix. I remember watching Painkiller, and I remember they were showing some of the scenarios about people that have had bad accidents, bro. Can't walk, have to live their life. They have to, they're having a lot of pains, and rather than addressing their pains and adjusting the lifestyle, there's a mentality like, yo, I gotta still do this. And that's what made marketing to those populations so freaking easy, bro.
Yeah.
Made it very easy because they're like, I can't take this pain. I got to get back up.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, we tried aspirin, so just pop this. Holy shit, I feel freaking great. You got any more of those things, man? You know what I mean? You got any more of those?
Like that Chappelle skit.
Yeah, Tyrone Biggims, man. They're on Tyrone. They're opioid Tyrone Biggims.
You're a church and one day, next day you're a Tyrone Biggims.
Bruh. Just like that, bruh. Just like that. You know how many people's lives were ruined because of this? Dude, listen, there's I never recognized how big this was until we're in 2025, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this had to be 2019. Probably even 2018 before I started working in Lifetime. But anyway, either way, so I was going to this organization, me and Mike Schmidt actually, and they deal with it's in an affluent area, and they deal with the opioid addiction. Mm-hmm. They provide a lot of different activities and things like this. And I remember being like, in this town, you got addicts?
Yeah.
And they were like, they looked at me like I had 7 heads. They're like, this is the place where this happens the most. Access. It's not like just like, you go down the hood, man. Yo, let me get a nickel bag, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the things that one population would do to sort, like a lower income population would do to sort themselves, like, yo, man, I'm gonna get some bro, let me get some weed.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, yo, let me get that oxy, man. Let me get that Molly. Let me get that Adderall. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah.
Because now it's like, yo, I got the pills. Like, yo, how much you need, son? It's a couple honey, man. Give me some pills, bro. Because they don't know how, and especially in an adolescent. Dude, I can't, my son's 14. I couldn't even imagine growing up in this age right now, bro. I couldn't even, bro. I don't want to imagine.
Yeah, it's a tough age, man.
It's a
tough generation, tough era to grow up in.
It really is. Bro.
I think the kids are less mature as we were when they were their age, and they have more shit getting thrown their way.
Yes,
more pressure, social media, it's peer pressure. It's just it's different. And you become more acceptable to these, and it's whole kind of like going back to this opioid thing. It's like, and I was like, all right, if this stuff is so dangerous, like, why is it still out there? Is it out there, and why is it still out there? And one of the reasons, I look into it, I'm like, okay, I can see why you would prescribe this, post surgery, right? you get a heart transplant, dude, you're in fucking pain, man. Like, all right, maybe you get a little something like that to ease it. You have a severe injury, like a compound fracture in your femur. All right, yeah, give me some of that shit, you know. I don't want a Tylenol. I want some, I want that good stuff.
Painkiller now. High dose.
Come on. End of life. When you're in like hospice, cancer, you go through pain. Sure, absolutely. I think it has its purposes. But like my problem is where I see the unethical side of it is some doctors, they still receive incentives even today for prescribing certain brands of opioids, knowing that it could still cause a lot of addiction issues. Pharmaceutical reps, they still target pain clinics, rural hospitals, elderly care centers, because those are the easy targets, right?
Right.
There's prescription quotas for insurance companies, and they often reward very fast. So it's they got these sales reps out there, just glorified, drug pushers, and they're just trying to make a quick buck. Another thing is too, the system it lacks accountability, and it always will lack accountability as long as it's bringing in enough money. So despite all the lawsuits, there's many pharmaceutical companies out there that are still producing opioids. They just produce it under different names or under subsidiaries, And one thing people need to realize too, be like, oh, it's FDA approved, it must be safe. FDA approved doesn't mean safe for long term. It just means it passed the basic safety benchmark, which was often set decades ago, 10, 20 years ago. So it's not even up to standard. And doctors are, one thing about doctors too, they're under a lot of pressure to treat pain quickly, especially like if they're underfunded or they have high volume of healthcare settings, which is like another topic. So, and one thing you say, I still always remember this. Many patients still expect a pill for a pain. They want something tangible. It's that culture mindset. If I'm in pain, there must be a drug for it, And some patients, they actually demand opioids, So it's, and one thing too is I was thinking about Yelp and all these review companies. Physicians, they actually fear somebody leaving a negative review for them, or they lose a patient, or they even a lawsuit like, hey, this person should have subscribed this for me, I was in this much pain. So they kind of almost like listen to the patient sometimes in a lot of ways to avoid any kind of negative feedback.
Bro, it's a liability issue, man.
Yeah. So that's just my rant of bullet points there, which is
run the bullet points, dude. I mean, listen, man. This is a serious issue. That's why I'm happy that we're addressing it, because, a couple key things. Know how to manage your pain, right? And then also get out of something tangible, needing something tangible. Because like this, like substance abuse and addiction, this comes from like we mentioned before, failing to know how to manage your pain, whatever pain that is. And then the next piece is, hey man, know that there's ways that you can address your pain without a pill. And for extreme situations, sure, you may need an extreme pain, you may need a strong painkiller. The thing is, though, is that, like, again, it's free of having any kind of regulations to say, well, okay, hey, look, we're gonna give you like these 5 oxys. This is all you get. So like split them up in half or do whatever, but this is all you get. But that's not how it works, though, because they can get refills, or like, even I'm sure on a black market you can get some shit. But like it's a sad state, man. It's a sad state with this, brother. And I'm happy that we brought this to attention, because I think a lot of men or people in general fail to realize how much of addiction and substance abuse has an impact on men's mental health, bro.
Yeah. And I really believe like if you're addicted to this stuff, I mean, obviously, seek help and everything like that, go out. But it's not about just quitting. It's about rewiring the brain. Remember, it's a brain issue. So you like neuroplasticity practices, like the rewiring of the hardware in the brain. You can do that through meditation, any kind of therapy. Exercise promotes new neural pathways. You can do behavioral therapy like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which helps identify and you change the addictive thought patterns. Look into that. Like watch a couple YouTube videos on it. Maybe you'll get like, oh shit, I didn't know about that. Let me try this out. Social connection. That builds dopamine naturally. Isolation is the worst thing you can do when you have an addictive personality. Is isolation. Do not isolate yourself. Do whatever you can to get out there. And as far as lifestyle changes, sleep and nutrition, man, drastically improves with rest and clean food, clean fuel. Eat clean, drink clean water, get to bed by 10. And, God, right there alone, that's going to help you rewire the brain. But go back to that, take a couple things out like therapy. My biggest thing would be like, I'm a meditation guy. I'm a visualizer. I'm a feeler. Exercise. I exercise a lot. I get to bed before 10. I eat organic. I drink clean, purified water. I try to be around people as much as I can.
Yeah.
Get vitamin D. It's have things always planned out ahead. Like I was like, yeah. What'd you say?
Sunlight. I'm like, get the sunlight, man.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. A lot of people are talking like right when you get up in the morning, man, go outside for like 10 minutes, just stretch the arms, and just that vitamin D on you, man.
Bro, it's a beautiful thing, man. As soon as it starts getting nice out, and even like in the morning, it's just nice to just go outside and just chill. If you drink a coffee or tea, man, go outside and sip that mother hoo-ha while you're there. Just go sip on it, man. Sip on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And if you got good.
No, it's you, man.
I was gonna say, if you guys are experiencing anything, reach out to Paul and I. The email's always in the chat. If you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, that's cool. I understand it's a touchy subject, but like again, like 2/3 of the men out there that are experiencing something like this. I'm sure women are pretty high up there, and shoot us an email, man. We'll guide you in the best we can.
Absolutely.
We know a lot of people. If we can't help you, when in doubt, refer out.
Yep.
We'll find people somebody fortunate.
Yeah. Dude, damn sure know. If we can't find somebody to help you, if we can't help you, we damn sure know someone who can.
Yeah.
That's the shit. But Brian, appreciate you saying that, man, because listen, the first step to any addiction that you have is to get help. Right. And and figure out what that help's gonna look like for you. Like how can they help you? Because some people will be like, they'll just say you need to get help, but there's going to be some people that are going to ask you, how can they support you? So be ready to have an answer. And if you're like, I have no idea, that's a good answer too, because then you can co-create something. You can get on a much healthier path that'll be conducive for your wellness and then for your life, bro. For your life. Yeah, man. Yeah. Bless up, man. Wow. Damn, man. Listen, this was another powerful show. I think this was our last mental health men's health thing. Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Damn, what a way to wrap it up, man. What? We did it. Now on to the next gosh darn thing. Hey, listen, people, we appreciate you so much. And just like we talked about, hey, if you're looking for support, you can email us. Also, if you're like, hey, if you want to give feedback, Brian and I love feedback, right? Because it helps us get better. It helps us figure out what you all are looking for and how we can support and be of service to you. That's one of the main reasons we're here. So listen, if there's something that you want us to talk about, put that junk in the freaking email, por favor. Let us chop it up and let's present it here for you. And if you're out there and you're like, yo, man, you two cats are pretty cool. I want to come on your podcast because I got a book to share or practice or this or that. Send us an email and let's get it rocking. All right.
Love it.
Big. Always a pleasure, bro. And
always a pleasure.
That's right, B. And guess what? Tomorrow you boys going to Jazz Band. Anyway.
Have fun.
Peace, everybody. Thanks, brother. Peace, everybody.